Most people don't remember until they are reminded. Do you remember? Welcome back. Thanks for stopping by Two Hands and a Foot. We won't tell you who's who. Before we get started today, though, go ahead and click that like button. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell, and then share this with all your friends. So let's get into it. A lot of people can't remember a lot of things, especially when they're not directly involved in those things. Over a period of time, our ability to maintain memories degrades. But there are some things, though, that people need to remember. And I think this event is one of them. 22 years ago today, a bunch of jerks hijacked 4 planes. 2 of them, they ran in, one each, into the World Trade Center towers in New York. A third, they flew into the Pentagon. And a fourth one was bravely taken back by the passengers. And before it could carry out its plan, they ran it into the ground in a field in Pennsylvania. Over 3,000 lives were taken that day. They were murdered that day. I remember exactly where I was. I was a freshman in college. I was coming down my stairs and through our lounge area. And on the TV, we had a big screen TV in our lounge. And on the TV screen was the skyline of New York City. And as I was darting through, I saw that a building had smoke in it, and I stopped to see what movie was on the TV. And then I saw the live symbol flashing in the top right-hand corner. And I realized rather quickly that it wasn't a movie. And then I saw the second plane hit the second tower. At that time, I wasn't quite sure exactly what to make of it. Some of my first thoughts were what's going on, but also I have family had family in New York who worked for, in New York City as for law enforcement and worked close by for fire department, and knew that they would be getting involved one way or another. And so I was worried about their safety. And so I called my mother, and I was like, "Hey, Mom, have you heard from anybody?" No, she's been trying to get through. And of course, a lot of chaos and uncertainty was going on. I didn't know what to do, so I continued on from there. I went to class. And our professor, I believe he did a smart thing. I think he did well to continue to have class. I think making note of what was happening, but then keeping us occupied for the time being, because there was nothing we could do at that moment. Information was still coming out. We hadn't heard excuse me. We hadn't heard of the attack on the Pentagon yet. So things were still developing as far as the story is concerned. And so I think he did the right thing. And still conducted class. Obviously noting what had happened and the importance of it. But I think he did the best thing possible, which was to continue to have class, to keep our minds off of it. Afterwards, As reality set in, there were a lot of reactions from people on campus. People wanting to quit college right then and there and go and join in the military. To the people who were in the military science program, who had their feelings, and so, of whether or not to continue or can't wait until they graduate and all those kind of things. Ultimately, I stayed in college. I finished my 4 years, but that was a day that I'll never forget. That I remember clearly walking down my stairs in my dorm, through the lounge, seeing the report on the TV, and finding out, trying to figure out what's going on with my family, and then heading to class and our professor doing, I think, the best thing of keeping us in class. 22 years ago, I know a lot of people who don't know where they were, and then I know a lot of people who weren't around at that time. As a matter of fact, just today, I met an individual who was born 7 days after this, so the 18th of September, 2001. And so, I've known and I've met and come across a lot of people who've been born after that date. And they don't know the significance of it. They don't know the details of it. They don't know what happened. They don't know why it happened. And you know what? A lot of it is they don't care to know what happened. It's not that they don't know that bugs me. They weren't around, obviously. And then even those that were young and were, 2, 3, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6, even 8 years old, people who don't remember the actual event because they weren't old enough to remember the event. The fact that they don't remember doesn't bother me. It's the fact that they don't care as to why it happened. They don't care to remember it. I think it's also been stuffed away because at that time, right after, this country became a more patriotic country. There are a lot of things that we were arguing and fighting over that at that point in time stopped mattering as far as wanting to argue about things. We've just been attacked as a nation. The fighting and arguing about smaller things, lesser things, can go to the wayside for a minute. Our nation was attacked. And I think in this day and age, a lot of our younger generation don't care or don't have as much national pride as we did back in 2001. Immorality has become more normal. Well, Tom, what does that have to do with remembering, September 11th, 2001? Well, like I said, the national pride has lessened over the last 22 years. Our children are no longer taught that America is an awesome country. With all of the flaws that has happened in this nation, our nation is the best nation in the world. The fact that people want to come here from all over the world proves that. We still have flaws. We're making more flaws. But we've the last 22 years, somehow it's seeped into our educational system that our country is a bad country. So they don't care. There's a greater push for self-gratification and instant gratification. I have a friend of mine who I would love to sit down and watch your YouTube channel, man, but They're long. You know, he's used to watching YouTube shorts. Those minute, hits of adrenaline. Those minute hits of gratification and needing more and more and more of that has seeped into the younger generation today. They want it and they want it now. And just for them, not for anybody else, just for them. There is a degradation in things that truly matter, like truth, honor, integrity. We sit here and we complain about soccer players not singing the national anthem. I could care less whether they sing about it or not. I don't sing when the national anthem is played. I usually stand at attention or I have my hand over my heart. I still honor the national anthem. Who cares about singing it? They didn't honor it. They're taught that honoring things don't matter. They're taught that integrity, what they say today, matters tomorrow. It does. What they do today matters tomorrow. Integrity. Doing the right thing even though you know no one is going to check up on you. I say it like this: is you're driving cross country 2 o'clock in the morning. There's no one else on the highway. You're coming up to the exit. You're going to pull off on to there. Do you turn on your blinker? No one else is around. You're not going to get in trouble for it if you don't. Are you still going to turn your blinker on? That's integrity. Even though you know no one's going to check up on you. Integrity. Truth. Objective truth. There is such a thing as objective truth. Now, the reason why I can say that is because it doesn't matter if you disagree, because it's objective. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree. It's objective. It's true. Whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, there is such thing as objective truth. And within that, those truths are true regardless of whether or not you believe it. The easiest one to explain, gravity. If you don't believe in gravity, go take a hike off of, the Eiffel Tower. I'd like to see how fast you start believing in gravity. There are other things that are objectively true, and we have lost that in today's society. So, Tom, what's that got to do with remembering what 9/11 is? Well, because in 9/11-2001, we still had a majority of these standards being common sense practice. And if we were waning on them, we shored it up. We came together still. So, what do we do, Tom? What do we do? Well, first we have to, it sounds cliche, but first we have to acknowledge the problem. Don't justify it. Acknowledge there's the problem. Don't say, well, that's the way we've been doing it for a few years now. Might as well just let it keep going. We don't want to cause a ruckus. We don't want to, hurt anybody's feelings. Well, the truth hurts your feelings. Anytime you are wrong, your feelings get hurt. But how will we learn if we are never wrong? How will we learn if we are never wrong? It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible to never learn. It's absolutely impossible to learn if you are never wrong. 100% impossible to do. How do you do that? Well, if I don't know something, how am I wrong? You're wrong in not having that knowledge. You are incorrect in not having that knowledge. You are not complete without having that knowledge. It's not a negative thing. At that point, now there's a willful disregard for the truth. That's wrong. Don't justify it. It's not okay that it's what everybody else does. You know, when I was a child, and Mom, Dad, everybody else is doing it. Well, if so-and-so jumped off a bridge, would you follow right behind him? No. Well, there goes the everybody else is doing it excuse. That's because everybody else is doing it doesn't make it right. Saying something is wrong is not judging another person. Judging their actions, but not judging the person. Two different things, and that's important. It's an important distinction. Judging the person would be because they are wrong, they deserve this, or therefore they are this. And therefore this should happen to them. It's not wrong to point out bad behavior. It's not wrong to point out incorrectness in things, in people. That is how we get better. There are things that we know are wrong. That we know. There are and when we see those, there are things that other people see that we can't see that are wrong in us. There are things that only we know are wrong. We hide that from everybody else. And then there are things that nobody knows that we're doing that are wrong yet. We need to commit to doing the right thing. It's difficult. It is, because you see so many people getting away with not doing the right thing. And just because it's legal, I'm going to put this out there, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right. Just because it's allowable doesn't mean it's right. Let me give an example. You can go and eat a pile of elephant dung all you want. It's not illegal to do it. At least that I'm aware of. It's not illegal to do it. But is it wrong? Yeah. Along with messed up, unhealthy, and a few other things. So just because it's allowable doesn't mean you should do it. Just because it's legal doesn't mean you should do it or that it's right. We need to commit to objective truth. You know, the things that we've degraded, objective truth. We need to commit to that. Hold ourselves to that standard of the objective truth. Following in line with doing the right things. We just did a book series on making your bed. Small things that build and build and build, that develop character, that develop discipline. And yes, it hurts sometimes. It's hard sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't seem worth it to do the right thing, but in the end, the end game or the outside option is worth more than the temporary reprieve of getting your way. We need to commit to integrity. Doing the right thing even though you know no one's going to check. No one gets up with me in the mornings and makes sure that I do my morning routine before I go to work. No one does. Not a single person. But it happens on days where I'm good to go, boom, up and ready, and days where I'm like, I really don't feel like getting out of bed, but I got to do it. Integrity says get up and do it. Because it's the right thing to do. Because if I don't do it, then my morning's going to be off and I'm going to have a bad day at work. Potentially. And that bad day at work can lead to bad experiences in my relationships with other people. It can hurt later on down the line. So doing the right thing, even though no one's going to check up on you, and committing to honor. The respect we have for others reflects the respect that we have for ourselves. And you may say, no. And I say yes. And this is why. Because if you don't respect anything else and you say, hey, I respect myself, that's not genuine respect. Bullies, majority of them bully for self-worth purposes. It's because they don't respect the other person, because they don't respect themselves. People don't work hard and do the right thing because they don't respect themselves enough to go do it. They don't respect their jobs, so they complain and they whine about it. And they say, oh, they were hard on me. It was a hostile working environment. It's not your grandmother's cookie making class. It's a job. Well, our nation has done some wrongs. Yes, it has. But that flag stands for more than just the current people that are living in this nation right now. It stands for how we got this nation. The values upon which this nation was built and continue to shape. It's the hope and the beacon for those who are wanting better lives. Regardless of who holds that chair in that White House, who cares? This nation is the greatest nation in the world. Thank God that it is. Because we may not have been blessed enough to live in this great country. We could be somewhere else that does not have the freedoms this nation still enjoys. And we should honor that. Bring that back. And we won't have to have the rally cry of September 12th, 2001 to bring us together. Because if we hold to the truth, to honor, and to integrity, and we overcome evil with good, we won't need that. We will already be there. So on this day, September 11th, 2023, I want to say that the loss we suffered 22 years ago is still shocking. Does it need to burden us? No. We need to remember. We need to be thankful for the heroes. Yes, the heroes that gave their lives on that day. The heroes that as a result of performing heroic deeds died as a result later on from being sick, running into unknowns. The heroes that have given their lives in service, in uniform, military uniform, 20 years later, trying to keep that wolf overseas. We need to remember that day, and not just a couple of days before and a couple of days after. We need to remember it on March 15th, August 2nd, December 14th, what have you. I'm grateful to be alive and living in the greatest nation in the world. I'm blessed beyond all measure. Thank God I live in the United States of America. Well, that's all I have for today. I know it's a little somber, but sometimes we need a little somber. Sometimes we need a little seriousness. I know I'm usually a happy-go-lucky guy. But this is important. And I felt that I needed to get this out today. 22 years later, who knows where we'll be in another 22 years. So God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Have a good morning, afternoon, evening, night, midnight snack. I don't care as long as it's good. And I'll catch you on the flip side.